again joining us to look at the National Dialogue debate is the Chairman, the President's Advisory Committee on National Dialogue from our Abuja studios, Femi Okurounmu. Good morning and thanks for joining us. You've gone through the entire regions of the country. Perhaps let's start from that. What was the feel like going around the regions of Nigeria?
Well, it's been very enlightening, very educative to go around all the nooks and crannies of Nigeria and ask Nigerians their views about the proposed national conference. And we were very, very surprised, pleasantly surprised, I would say, by the enthusiasm with which Nigerians welcomed us, by the enthusiasm with which they endorsed the idea of a national conference, and by their warm embrace of the whole idea that Nigerians are for a change. Once they are going to have an opportunity to sit down together and discuss the problems of the nation. So this, in fact, has been very, very encouraging to us.
You know, when your team was going around, a whole lot of people actually thought, well, it was just going to be an all-rosy affair for you all. But there are some instances where you met with what we want to call opposition. How would you rate all of that? Because those are also Nigerians, and their views were actually were laid before your team, saying, well, the national conference wasn't ideal for us. What we needed as a nation and as a people is just a better life.
The few voices of opposition that we met in here, that were raised initially, I must say, have been drowned now. They have been drowned by the acclamation and approbation of all Nigerians, majority of Nigerians, to the extent that those who initially were raising voices of opposition are on the retreat, because they find themselves increasingly marginalized and isolated from the majority of their countrymen and women. It must be said that even these voices of opposition that were raised initially were by a group of governors belonging to a particular political party, some of whom in fact had been at the forefront of the agitation for a national conference over the last three decades, who had financed agitations for a national conference, who had supported it, but who now find it politically opportune to oppose it simply for personal political reasons. But I think the interest of Nigerians, the interest of the future of Nigerian children is far greater than the temporary immediate interest of some handful of people. And these people are truly a handful, because when this gang of governors opposed it, they did not even carry their people, their followers along with them. Their followers trooped out en masse to meet the committee every time we went to their states and to present their viewpoints, what they believe should be on the agenda of the conference, how they believe the conference should be structured, and all the other issues on the terms of reference of our committee. All their followers enthusiastically participated in making their views known.
In your travels across the length and breadth of the country, with all the memoranda that you received, what would you say are the most consistent you've had to listen to or read through all through your journeys?
The most consistent what? I didn't hear that question very well.
In the memoranda you received, there are some demands that Nigerians had across the country, but which of them would you say are the most consistent? You've talked about how surprising at the excitement you were, but what are the things you say are most consistent among the demands they wanted?
Yes, the issues that are most consistent are in fact issues that have been talked about. They have been in the public domain over the last 2 decades. These are issues that people have been talking about and hammering upon. So they are not new. What is new is that now people have a chance to present them to a committee set up by the government with the hope that finally they are going to have an opportunity to discuss these issues. Top among such issues is the whole structure of the Nigerian Federation. They believe that we have a lopsided structure, a structural imbalance in the Federation, and a such imbalanced structure leads to injustices, leads to unfairness, and the injustices and unfairness lead to alienation of a significant section of the population. And when you have alienation of citizens, all this leads to pockets of local resistance, which in fact brings instability as we have today in Nigeria. So this is one of the most consistent positions people presented to us to re-examine the structure of Nigeria. Another one, of course, is the federalism. People are concerned about the political and fiscal federalism that we practice and want this re-examined. They believe the nation is top-heavy, too many responsibilities with the federal government, and too few and too little with the federating units, so that the federating units are more or less like beggars when it comes to sharing the resources of the nation. So these are some of the most consistent issues that people have presented before us.
I don't know if it was a mix-up, but you know, and I know that your committee is supposed to be an advisory committee, but one of the things that came up was during the Salah holiday, the president said that the summations of your meeting, of your, going around the country, will be submitted to the National Assembly for input into the Constitution. But it would seem that you have disagreed with the president on that particular count. Is it a misunderstanding, or would you kindly clarify that to us?
Our committee has not yet taken a position. Our committee has not yet taken a position on that issue. You will remember that one of the terms of reference of our committee is to make recommendations to government on how the outcomes of the national conference should be treated. It is in fact one of the items of reference of our committee. So it is one of those items on which we are to make recommendations to the federal government. We have not yet made our recommendations. So when we make our recommendations to the government, and if the government releases those recommendations, Nigerians will know what we have recommended.
Yeah, but going with what the president has said, I mean, because we must remember that your role is to advise, it would seem that most likely will be, just how it's going to go. What do you have to say about that?
The president did not say at what stage the findings will go to the National Assembly. There will be many stages of the National Conference. It depends on what stage it goes to the National Assembly. Ultimately, the recommendations will have to end up at the National Assembly, but it depends on at what stage. So we don't want to preempt the committee, and I don't want to preempt our committee. When our committee has decided on that, we shall let the public know.